Today, I'm going to show you how to dodge all the infrared sensors and stick whatever graphics you want straight to the front of your Oculus Rift CV1. I'll quickly show you how I mapped out the IRs, how I created the template, and how to design your own graphics to make the faceplate of your Oculus Rift CV1 look however you want it, while keeping it in tip-top shape for tracking your head movements in-game. I'll also supply you with a template that you can download and use to drop into your design software and take straight to the printers to get your custom graphic ready in the shortest time possible. So stay locked, enjoy, and I hope it helps. What is currently happening YouTube? Facepalm here, your friend in Oz and NZ, bringing you reviews, tutorials, and game clips, minus the You can follow me on Twitter at Facepalm with a 1, not an L. As for here on YouTube, if you like what you find, then like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to bring your game face. Let's get it done. So the first thing I did was find out where the IR sensors on the Rift were. To do this, I used the camera on my Samsung Galaxy S6, some baking paper, and a felt-tipped pen. I started by placing the baking paper over the front of my Rift and tying it in place with a rubber band, making sure that it was as tight as I could get it without going too crazy. With the Rift plugged in and the Oculus Home software open, I pointed the S6 at the Rift, which let me quite clearly see where the IR sensors on the Rift were located. Using the screen on my S6, I lined up the felt tip pen with the baking paper on the Rift and softly marked the locations of each of the Rift sensors. I then took a darker pen and went around the outside of the Rift so I knew where the dots were in comparison to the faceplate of the Rift. Once I had it all marked up, I took the baking paper off, laid it flat on my desk, and then went over top of the dots with a darker pen. Once that was done, I took that sheet of baking paper and stuck it in my scanner and gave it a good old-fashioned scanning. Oh, I scanned it good. I scanned it real good. After the scanner finished giving the baking paper a good hard scanning, I saved the file to my desktop, ready to be laid out in Photoshop and edited repetitively. Okay, that's enough of the innuendos. Before I dropped my image into Photoshop, I measured the physical size of the Rift's faceplate to make sure that what I would be dealing with in Photoshop was of accurate sizing. Once I'd done that, I opened Photoshop and dropped in my scan and cropped out the edges. Then I put a cyan ruler on the page and lined up the top line of my Rift tracing with that ruler line. I brought the ruler markers in Photoshop in from the edges and zeroed them out on the corners of the Rift so that I could check the size of the image of my Rift was the same as the measurements I took of the physical size of the Rift itself. Once all that was in order, I then downloaded a front-on picture of the Rift from Google and then dropped that on top of my image in Photoshop. I lowered the opacity of the Google image of the Rift to 50% and then lined it up with the scan of the tracing paper. Once it was all lined up and I was happy with where it was all at, I then took the paintbrush tool and with a black brush, I marked dots over top of the dots from the baking paper scan. Once they had all been laid out, I increased the opacity of the Google image of the Rift back to 100%, cropped out the background, then printed the shit out of it in dirty grayscale. Fast, dirty. I took that printing and cut it out using a pair of scissors. Then I laid the cutout on my carpet and punched holes in it where the IR marker dots were with the pen. After tidying up the holes I punched, I gently stuck the cutout to the front of the Rift using a tiny piece of blue tack in each corner to fit it in place. After a bit of jiggling around and making sure the cutout was seated properly, I then fired up my Rift again, grabbed my S6 and made sure that all the IR sensors were shining through the holes I'd punched in my cutout. Once I'd confirmed they were accurate, I then went back into my Rift Photoshop project and took my Facepalm logo and placed it on the image of the Rift faceplate, making sure to dodge all of the IR marker dots. At this point, I made sure to leave a little extra space around the dots just to be on the safe side. Then finally, I put some thin guidelines where the top and sides of the Rift would be located so that I could line the design up correctly and check it was the correct sizing before committing it to the front of my Rift. Once I was happy with the design, I removed all but the IR marker dot and guideline design from the image and saved that as a PDF to my desktop. Then I printed that onto sticker paper, making sure that it was actual size. I then cut just outside of the guidelines I marked and then took that cutout and held it up to the front of the Rift to make sure that the actual size had been preserved. Then it was as simple as cutting out my design and once again using my Samsung Galaxy S6's camera and the powered up Rift to line up my design to the correct location. For this, I actually found it easier to hold the Rift in between my legs and use a phone mic stand mount to hold my phone in a downward position so that I could look straight down on it and stick the design to exactly where I wanted it. I put a little blue tack on the back of my cutout design, lined it up, removed one side of the blue tack and the sticker backing paper, and stuck that down. Then I did the same for the other side. Once it was stuck, I ran the Rift setup tool just to make sure that all was functioning okay, which it was. And that was it. Simples. But instead of doing all this, I've put a link in the description below where you can download my template of the Rift's IR sensors. All you have to do is download that, drop it into Photoshop, put your design over top of it, save it as a PDF and print it out or take it to your local printing shop to print onto sticker paper for you. Then all you have to do is use the last steps I described to help you line it up properly and it's game on. And it's as simple as that. You will now be able to easily fit whatever custom graphic you want to the front of your Oculus Rift CV1, or even use the same method to design a graphic for the Vive or any other HMD for that matter. So happy gaming, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace! Thanks for watching today's video. Just remember you can follow me on Twitter @facepalm with a 1, not an L. As for here on YouTube, if you like what you find, then like, comment, and subscribe. But don't forget to bring your game face. Facepalm out.